how the international community perceives the killing in Nigeria. Let's watch and we'll come back to see our guests.
Major General Dagvin Anderson says Muslim terrorists have set their sights on Nigeria's southern and northwestern regions, and the U.S. is now sharing specific intelligence with the country.
So this intelligence sharing is absolutely vital, and we stay fully engaged with the government of Nigeria to provide them an understanding of what these terrorists are doing.
August 6th, Muslims stormed 4 remote Christian villages in Kaduna State, killing 22 villagers. July 24th, 21 dead, scores injured, and several Christian homes destroyed by militants. July 19th, 19 people killed when assailants armed with guns and machetes attacked a wedding reception. And the list goes on. There's a new actor on the scene. In Nigeria's so-called Middle Belt region, where the Muslim North meets the Christian South, a terror group made up of Muslim Fulani herders are killing thousands of Christians. More than 1,400 Christians were hacked to death in just the first 7 months of 2020 by Fulani herders.
The attackers are never captured. They are not prosecuted. The security services respond very slowly. A full day can go on with attacks happening and no security shows up. And frequently, the government officials will provide cover.
Helpless and vulnerable to almost daily attacks, leading Catholic bishops are now urging Nigerian Christians to defend themselves. Human rights groups are asking the White House to appoint a special envoy to help end the persecution of Christians in Nigeria.
Unless the world takes note and puts pressure, economic pressure, sanctions, visa bans on the officials who are responsible for this travesty and for not reining in the terror, then Nigeria will continue to be a bloodbath.
Let's just quickly establish the fact that Nigerian military has done its best to counter the attacks, and many of Nigeria's finest military officers have actually paid the ultimate price trying to defend Nigeria and counter the insurgency. And of course, in the face of the perception and intervention of the international community in this crisis, how can Nigeria better demonstrate its resolve to deal with the problem, provide adequate security, and protect the lives and property of Nigerians at all times? Joining me to look at the issue today as we dig deep into this matter from Westminster London is the chairman of the British Parliament, all-party parliamentary group for international freedom of religion or belief, the group that actually prepared the report that possibly indicted the Nigerian government of possible genocide in Nigeria. Shannon, a member of British Parliament, joining us live from Westminster on the program today. Also on the show is the human rights activist who has been involved in campaigning and defending victims across Africa and indeed Nigeria, and of course who has also taken the opportunity to speak up against all forms of killing in the country. I'm talking about Jennifer Obaseki. Jennifer Obaseki is a senior partner at Obaseki Solicitors based in London. I have the privilege to have the two people joining me on the program today. Let me start with Mr. Shannon. Mr. Shannon, thank you for taking the time to join us on the program today. Mr. Shannon, thank you for joining us on the program today. Do we have him? Yes, we do have him. Jennifer, thank you for taking it.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Great, awesome. I can hear you now. Thanks a lot. Thank you for taking the time.
First of all, can I thank you for inviting me onto the program. Very pleased to be invited, and hopefully we can let you know some of the things that we're trying to do at Westminster in relation to Nigeria in particular, because as chair of the APPG for freedom of religious belief, that's those with Christian faith, those with other faith, and those with no faith, we felt that it was important that we did an inquiry on Nigeria, and we did that over the last period of time, because in our opinion we need to be a voice for the voiceless, for those who perhaps, and they do not have anyone to speak for them. So although I may never have been to Nigeria, I'm very, very aware of my Christian brothers and sisters in Nigeria and what they're going through. So therefore, it's very, very pleasing for me to be part of that.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon. Let me quickly ask you, the report that your group produced when it was produced, what inspired that report? What inspired that report that your group produced on Nigeria?
Yeah. I think initially as a Christian, obviously would be my motivation, but as chair of the APPG, I'm very clear in my mind that we have a responsibility to acknowledge the parts of the world where persecution and where suffering and where, let's be honest, unfolding genocide is taking place, and Nigeria is one of those places. And also what we are concerned about is, unfortunately, the deafening silence when it comes to the plight of Nigerians. And your initial program at the very beginning there, I think would let us know just how much we are that concerned. So at the APPG, we really wanted to shine a light on this crisis and raise awareness amongst the United Kingdom government and the international community. We also wanted to get to the heart, I believe, of what was driving the violence, because we need to understand why that's happening and what's going on. We have heard so much in the debate about the factors that are driving and exacerbating the issues, but we launched the parliamentary inquiry to help develop a better, what I would call a nuanced understanding of the drivers of violence, as well as to increase parliamentary, public and governmental interest in that issue. I believe we've done that through the APPG, understanding the cause of violence and what chance there is to find peace, because it's all about how we can help you from London, from the United Kingdom.
Yes, Mr. Shannon, while you were producing this report, the government of Nigeria has actually denounced some of the findings in your report. They say they actually not true, that there's no any form of religious killing in Nigeria. The question I want to put to you, did you carry the Nigerian government along while trying to investigate what happened in Nigeria? Did you carry the Nigerian government along? Did they have a kind of a right of response while carrying out this research and investigation?
Yeah. I think I would share your concerns, to be truthful with you, in relation to Nigeria's initial response to that. But I think the Nigerian government has to understand that the world observes a level of conflict and genocide that's taking place. And in your introduction, you referred to 421 deaths of Christians hacked to death, all the attacks upon the weddings, attacks upon the churches, the attacks upon the villages. And it's very clear to us, even through the oral evidence sessions, because in those oral evidence sessions, because this is based not upon supposition, it's not based upon hearsay, it's based upon real evidence, and the real evidence that took place at the United Kingdom Houses of Parliament. We also held several smaller meetings, received written submissions from a wider range of different organisations and individuals, and from that evidence we've very clearly seen the farmer-herder conflict, and we also noticed very clearly, evidentially, the devastating effect on Nigeria. Amnesty International estimate that between January 16 and October 18, at least 3,641 people have been killed, 406 injured, 5,000 houses burnt down. And local groups such as the Christian Association of Nigeria report even higher figures. So those figures could be on the low side. International crisis groups also estimated over 300,000 people have been displaced. So we have to recognise that as well. The violence has claimed the lives of 6 times more people than the conflict with Boko Haram. So simply staggering devastation with an unprecedented cost in lives of terms of human lives, but also in terms of economics. The Mercy Corps reported violence is costing the Nigerian economy £10.5 million per year. So the report goes on to explore what is the cause of the devastation. It finds the increasing competition for resources, climate change, political elites, spread of violent extremism across Nigeria and the Sahel.
Shannon,
all these things, you know.
Thanks a lot. That's such a very staggering report you have there, and it does indicate some of the issues here in the country, in Nigeria. But let me quickly turn to Jennifer Obaseki. Jennifer Obaseki is a solicitor in London, and she's also a human rights lawyer. She's taking up cases on behalf of victims in Nigeria and of course in London via our firm. Jennifer, thank you for taking the time to join us on the program today. Jennifer, tell us, when you hear some of these issues in the country, when you hear about some of this killing and you hear about the responses of the government to these issues, and of course many soldiers that have actually lost their lives trying to defend the country and of course push back insurgency, what comes to your mind? How do you feel? What are your thoughts?
I am truly shocked and disappointed. It's continued, and unfortunately from the numbers that we're seeing, it's getting worse. Sadly, the Nigerian government seems not to be paying attention to the level of killing that is taking place and the measures that should be put in place to counter these growing insurgent groups just does not seem to be happening. The number of soldiers that we've seen pass is terrible, but Nigeria is signatory to a number of international conventions. The Kampala Convention outlines what should be happening to protect internally displaced people. It outlines what preventative measures should be put in place, but instead we're seeing the numbers go in the complete opposite direction, which is deeply concerning.
The government will say, look, we're fighting the insurgency. The military will say we're doing everything we can, we're pushing them back. In fact, the government has come out to tell us several times that it is winning the battle, but the reality on ground, based on the report we have seen from APPG FoRB and of course some of your cases you have handled in London, can we just is it possible for us to give the government the benefit of doubt in this matter, to say it's doing its best?
Maybe the government doesn't see the videos that we see or take the accounts from the individuals that we speak to. As it's been said by the Honourable MP, Jim Shannon, these are accounts that are not fictitious, that are made by eyewitnesses. And on top of that, we're in a digital age. We see the videos that have been leaked onto social media that outline what has taken place. Unless they can prove the videos are fake, then they have true accounts of what has taken place. Unless they actually take action, it will get worse.
All right, you can rest assured that we will be on this matter and we'll continue with this matter. Mr. Shannon, let me quickly come to you. This report that your group produced, what do you intend to achieve with this report?
Well, I think first of all, can we thank Jennifer for that as well? She reaffirms my position and my thoughts. I think the traditional mediation mechanisms that there were in Nigeria, the Nigerian government's lack of either the capacity or the political will to protect communities and punish perpetrators of violence has created an atmosphere of violence which they continue to use. So through this report, we would hope that the Nigerian government would act.
I'm sorry to cut in. Yeah. Did the Nigerian government have a copy of this report? Did you officially present a copy of this report to the Nigerian government?
Yes, we have presented the report. They were part of our inquiry. So everyone who took part in the inquiry got the report. So yes, they do have it. Yeah, most definitely. And also the Nigerian government. We would ask them to follow up the investigations that we have had, the evidence that we have gathered, and ultimately we made a number of recommendations at the end of it as well. So we would want to see the Nigerian government responding to our recommendations. So yes, we give them the report. We've asked them to act upon it, and we expect them to do so.
Right. Let's quickly take. I don't want you to go now. Let's quickly take this report and see how some of the Nigerian military has been fighting to defeat the insurgency and of course deal with this issue of militancy in Nigeria. Let's take this report from our colleague Ihotun as we look at some of the steps the Nigerian military has taken.
The year 2020 has begun, and for some Nigerians on a sad note, owing to the death of their loved ones who fell prey to the terrorists. In the wake of these attacks, especially in the northeast, the Army Chief and Principal Staff Officers have returned to Borno State to re-strategize. On this day, it's a beehive of activities at the 29th Task Force Brigade Jakana, one of the outposts. While in the camp, the troop had gathered an intelligence report about evading terrorists. Hence, the troops set out to counter the attack. One after the other, the men filed out to the Lambawa and Auno forests. It is said that the terrorists sometimes engage at sunset. While some set out, others at the camp are alert, waiting to accord reinforcement. After the encounter, they returned back to the camp with a taste of victory, having killed many, captured one, and recovered gun trucks and weapons.
Instead of maintaining their
Through the thick, dark night in the forest, our convoy charged through back to Maiduguri. The next day, our convoy headed to 156th Task Force Battalion, Mainok, where some of the men had also encountered the insurgents the previous day. After inspecting the recovered items, the Army Chief commended the gallantry of the troop.
You have done, and you are still doing your job professionally, and this must be maintained. I want to once again say congratulations for the feat you have done yesterday, and you must continue to do that same feat to clear their doubts and deal with them decisively.
One soldier paid the supreme price, while the two injured are receiving treatment at the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital and 7th Division Medical Facility, Memalari Cantonment.
All right, that's a report from our colleague Tunde telling us some of the feats that have been achieved by the Nigerian military in dealing with some of these crises happening up north. And of course, unfortunately, many of them have lost their lives. Many are still up there fighting the insurgency. It's a great task. Mr. Shannon, let me quickly ask you, did your report acknowledge the efforts of the Nigerian military and of course some of the things that the international community can actually do to help them deal with this crisis?
Yeah, we certainly did. I mean, with our conversations and the evidence sessions that we had and the oral inquiry that we held out, we had with many people, we very clearly in our report which we put forward, we've actually asked for a meeting with the Nigerian High Commission to follow this up. I acknowledge that the Nigerian government and their armed forces are responding, but what we do see is not the numbers where the persecution, the victimization, the murder and the genocide has taken place. So therefore, from our point of view, we don't see enough action from Nigeria in relation to it. We would hope that, and certainly we have asked the Nigerian government, and we've also asked our own government here in the United Kingdom to put forward some ideas of how we could help the Nigerian government to take on the terrorists and those who are carrying out these despicable acts of genocide.
Right. Mr. Shannon, thank you so much for your time and contribution to the program. Jennifer, what's your last take on the program as we count down to the end of the program? What's your last take, Jennifer? Jennifer, are you there? Do I still have Jennifer? Yes, Jennifer. Yes, your last take on this program.
For the Nigerian government to look at the constitution, look at its obligations to protect human rights, to look at its legal and international obligations on the preservation and prevention steps that it could take. And if it needs assistance, to reach out. We commend their effort. We commend the effort of those who've lost their lives in this battle. But unfortunately, they have to acknowledge what is taking place in order to then try and counter it.
Absolutely. Jennifer, thank you so much. Jennifer is a senior partner at Obaseki Solicitors in London. She's taken up a couple of cases, human rights abuses on behalf of Nigerians and other nationals in the United Kingdom. And Jim Shannon MP, he's the chair of the British Parliament, APPG, that was responsible for the report produced on insecurity and of course what they call genocide in Nigeria. Mr. Shannon, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. Very appreciated what you have done and what your group continues to do for Nigeria and, of course, other international organizations. Thank you so much. This is how far I can go. We hope to bring you back at some other time as we begin to look at this issue on this program. Thank you so much. Let's quickly join our colleague now, Sadia Dosumu, as we take a look at the ongoing United Nations General Assembly. This is how far I can go today. I hand you over to my colleague, Sadia Dosumu. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye.
The 75th session of the United Nations General Assembly opened on Monday, 21st of September 2020 in New York. The one-week event did not witness the usual physical participation of presidents, prime ministers or heads of government to deliver individual address. It is a virtual general meeting due to the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, and this is happening for the first time in the history of the United Nations since its formation on the 24th October 1945. On Tuesday, the Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari says Nigeria will continue to partner with the World Health Organization, WHO, and some countries to ensure accelerated development and manufacturing as well as inhibited supply of safe and effective coronavirus vaccines to all. The theme of this year's General Assembly is the future we want, the United Nations we need, reaffirming our collective commitment to multilateralism, confronting coronavirus through effective multilateral action. The President described the theme of the General Assembly as most appropriate and timely, noting that it captures the common desire for a renewed and revitalized organization in need of multilateral approaches to the many challenges facing the world. The Nigerian leader also commended the efforts of the United Nations and the WHO in combating the pandemic. Buhari noted with appreciation the $2 billion global response plan launched by the UN Secretary General to fund the coronavirus response in the poorest countries. The United States President Donald Trump, French President Emmanuel Macron, and a suite of strongmen, including China's Xi Jinping, Turkey's Recep Erdogan, and Russia's Vladimir Putin, all spoke early on Tuesday. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called the health crisis our own 1945 moment, a reference to World War II, and described COVID-19 as a toxic virus shaking the democratic underpinning in many countries. Guterres' remarks touched on rising global poverty and fractured diplomatic relations and warned of the increasingly bitter standoff between China and the United States, whose diplomatic relationship, he said, was moving in a very dangerous direction. Guterres also suggested a new global deal to solve the crisis, built on multilateral approach. Xi, for his part, pointedly expressed his country's commitment to pursuing open and inclusive development, to building an open world economy, and upholding the multilateral trading regime with the World Trade Organization as the cornerstone.
Major